I urgently pleaded with Tyler to cut short his trip and come home as our father and mother were in critical condition. However, Tyler responded heartlessly, dismissing my concerns and stating that I should handle it on my own, accusing me of likely exaggerating the situation. He abruptly hung up, leaving me distressed. In the following weeks, my attempts to reach out to Tyler were futile, and when he finally returned home, he displayed a complete lack of remorse. I confronted him, revealing the devastating news that both our parents had passed away, expecting sympathy or regret. To my surprise, Tyler froze with a puzzled look on his face, questioning the authenticity of my statement and accusing me of playing a sick joke. I sternly assured him that it was not a joke and reminded him of the desperate call I had made 2 weeks prior, informing him about our parents' critical condition. Tyler was at a loss for words, struggling to comprehend the sudden turn of events. As Jessica Atkins, a 56-year-old homemaker, I recounted my past, including meeting Tyler in college and the unexpected challenges we faced during this difficult time. Tyler, the head of the tennis club, was a strict individual with aspirations for national tournaments. Skill outweighed experience in his eyes, and he relentlessly pushed everyone during practice. As a novice, I struggled to even make contact with the ball, leading to Tyler's harsh berating. His scolding reached a point where he effectively kicked me off the tennis court, leaving me feeling humiliated. Despite the constant insults, I was determined to improve. Frustrated, I practiced my swings and form at home, hoping to prove myself. Eventually, my hard work paid off. One day during a typical practice, I surprised Tyler by powerfully returning his serve. He stared in shock, then exclaimed with a smile, acknowledging my improvement. In that moment, unexpectedly, I fell head over heels for him. Despite Tyler's continued strictness, I persevered, trying to keep up with his intense training regimen. As time passed, during an evening out drinking with friends from our group, Tyler and I found ourselves alone. Out of the blue, he confessed his feelings to me, changing the dynamics of our relationship. Tyler's unexpected confession left me taken aback. He had never shown any signs of affection before, but since I harbored feelings for him, I replied positively, suggesting that we give it a shot. Thus began our secret relationship, as Tyler wished to keep it from the tennis club members to avoid affecting team morale. Despite the secrecy, I was overjoyed to be with Tyler, deeply in love. We continued our relationship beyond college graduation and eventually got married when I was 26. At Tyler's request, I left my job, dedicating myself to being by his side. In the early days, we were inseparable, going on frequent dates and sharing a strong connection. However, after 30 years, our lives had settled into a routine. My priorities shifted, and I stopped putting as much effort into my appearance as I did in my 20s. As a stay-at-home wife, I rarely interacted with others, so I found myself going barefaced from morning till night, with little concern for makeup. Loose skirts with stretchy, elastic waists had become my preferred attire over trendy clothes. My body had undergone changes, and I had gained weight, resembling the before pictures seen on weight loss shows. Some might argue that these physical changes contributed to the routine nature of our relationship. Over time, I noticed a shift in Tyler's perception of me. What was once a husband-wife dynamic had seemingly evolved into a more maternal role. Tyler began making occasional jokes, addressing me as Mom, and asking for things like another cup of coffee. It was worth noting that my mother-in-law was still a part of our lives, residing in an apartment just a 10-minute walk from our house, along with my father-in-law. Living close by but separately, my in-laws, wonderful people, have always shown concern for me. Lately, their health has been declining, with my father-in-law battling a serious illness. Unfortunately, the doctors have conveyed that there's not much more they can do. Tearfully, my father-in-law expressed his desire to spend his last days at home. Consequently, he was discharged from the hospital and is now receiving palliative care at home. Taking on the responsibility of looking after my father-in-law alongside my mother-in-law, who seems visibly exhausted, has become a daily routine. As a stay-at-home wife, I help with their care almost every day. However, it's apparent that living with the ailing father is taking a toll on my mother-in-law. One day, she approached me with a vulnerable expression, asking if I could stay with them for just one night. She explained that it's becoming increasingly challenging for her. Regrettably, I had to turn down her request, explaining that Tyler comes home at night. It hurt to decline, but I couldn't compromise on my commitment to Tyler. Upon hearing my refusal, my mother-in-law murmured with a look of despair, "Every night, I have to take care of Tyler." This revelation weighed heavily on me, highlighting the unrelenting demands placed on my mother-in-law. Tyler, my dominant husband, seldom lifts a finger to help around the house. He shows little consideration for the challenges I face in caring for my ailing father-in-law. Dinner must be ready and warm by the time Tyler gets home, and leftovers are out of the question. On one occasion, when I couldn't make it home in time due to attending to my father-in-law, Tyler, with a face as red as a beet, yelled at me, insisting that I should prioritize him over his dad, emphasizing that I should remember he is family. I wanted to point out that my father-in-law is also his family, but the situation left me silenced and distressed. Despite my inner turmoil, I remained silent during Tyler's outbursts, knowing that arguing would only escalate the situation further. As a stay-at-home wife, I felt trapped and guilty for being unable to stand up to Tyler's demands. I couldn't help but look at my downcast mother-in-law with concern, knowing that her burden was growing heavier. Tyler's late returns had become a frequent occurrence, and today was no exception. He arrived past midnight, slightly intoxicated, and greeted me cheerfully. Expressing my concern, I questioned his recent late nights out, suggesting that it might worry our families. In response, Tyler dismissed my worries, asserting his authority over me as a stay-at-home wife and demanding obedience. Feeling helpless, I hesitated but decided to broach the subject more delicately, asking Tyler to inform me in advance when he planned to go out for drinks. I explained that our families were stressed, and my father-in-law's health wasn't great. Tyler, however, laughed off my concerns, insisting that he would decide when to go out based on his mood. He dismissed my plea, claiming that his mother could handle his father's situation. Taken aback by Tyler's harsh words, I could only respond with a meek apology as he briskly headed to the bathroom. Feeling trapped and powerless, I had an idea one day and decided to talk to Tyler about it. I requested him to inform me in advance of his plans, expressing my desire to be there for our stressed-out families. Tyler, uninterested in my concerns, insisted that I should prioritize him over everything else. Then, out of the blue, Tyler dropped a bombshell. He announced that he would be going on a 2-week trip to Australia the following week. Stunned, I questioned the sudden international trip, considering his job responsibilities and my lack of a passport. Tyler, annoyed by my inquiries, casually mentioned that he had received a bonus and decided to go for it. He had already requested time off from work, and he made it clear that I wasn't invited. Nonchalantly, he added, "You don't need a passport, right?" It struck me then that we hadn't even had a proper honeymoon since we got married. "Who are you going with?" I asked Tyler, my suspicions growing. Even for day trips, Tyler always claimed it was a waste of money and never included me. Now this sudden international trip seemed suspicious. I stared intently at him, seeking an honest answer. Tyler retorted dismissively, "I'm going with a guy from work. Now get dinner ready already." Realizing that pressing him further might lead to a confrontation, I reluctantly started preparing dinner. The next day, Tyler left for his trip early in the morning. By noon, I found myself frantically calling him. "What do you want?" "I'm about to board a plane for an international trip." Tyler snapped at me as soon as he answered. In a panic, I informed him that my in-laws were in critical condition and pleaded for him to cancel his trip and come home immediately. However, Tyler's response was cold and heartless. "I'm on vacation with my colleague. Handle it yourself. You're probably exaggerating anyway. I'm busy, going to hang up now. Bye." Despite my desperate attempts to reach out to him, Tyler hung up, ignoring my pleas. 2 weeks later, Tyler returned cheerfully, carrying a large suitcase. I approached him and delivered the devastating news. Both their funerals are over. Tyler looked puzzled, as if he didn't understand. Frantically, he questioned, "What do you mean by both their funerals? Are you playing some kind of sick joke?" Sighing deeply at Tyler's flustered demeanor, I responded sternly, "It's no joke. Don't you remember? I called you 2 weeks ago, telling you your parents were critically ill." Tyler, at a loss for words, trailed off, unable to comprehend the sudden turn of events. I found myself sitting on the floor, explaining that when I went to visit his parents, they had both collapsed with pale faces, prompting me to call an ambulance in a panic. The doctor said they were both in critical condition. Your dad needed care for a while, and your mom had been looking unwell recently. A series of unfortunate events, I guess. I explained to Tyler with a detached tone, recounting the events leading up to my in-laws' critical condition. Despite visiting them almost every day, I couldn't save them in time. Regret over not going to their place sooner lingered, but at that moment, anger towards Tyler took precedence. My in-laws are his real parents, yet Tyler chose himself over them until the very end. No matter how much I pleaded, Tyler always prioritized himself. I expressed the tired look on my mother-in-law's face, fueling my anger towards Tyler. Tyler remained silent, his face grim, seemingly unable to come to terms with reality. Deciding to press in further, I asked, "It's your fault, isn't it? Choosing a trip with your colleague over your own parents. Did you enjoy your vacation?" A sly smile played on my lips, but Tyler stayed silent. Probing a bit more, I commented, "Well, I guess a trip with your lover is fun, right? 2 weeks seems a bit long, though." Tyler, as if resigning himself, began to talk. He confessed to seeing Baker from work, who was over a decade younger than me, offering him comfort. It seemed Tyler had indeed been cheating, explaining his recent late nights. Staying silent, I let Tyler continue, thinking I had accepted his confession. Proudly, Tyler compared Baker to me, highlighting her slim figure, beauty, and job. Nonchalantly, I responded, "Huh, not caring at all," reminding him that he had asked me to become a stay-at-home wife after we got married. As if he had an idea, Tyler made a suggestion. "Now that my parents are gone, and there's no one to oppose, let's get a divorce. I can live here with Baker, so leave right now." Tyler's suggestion of a divorce left me flabbergasted. Despite always being a stay-at-home wife and deferring to whatever Tyler said, witnessing him prioritize a trip with his mistress over his critically ill parents changed something within me. I no longer wanted to be with him. "Fine, I'll leave right now." "Goodbye," I declared, packing a minimum amount of stuff and walking away from the house. A week later, I found myself staying at a budget motel, distancing myself from the life I had known. Tyler, however, called my cell after a week. Panicking, he mentioned he couldn't find the checkbook at home. I calmly responded that I had left all the statements under Tyler's name, including the bank book where his salary gets deposited. The only checkbook I took was in my name. Tyler, sounding frantic, insisted that the money in that checkbook was joint property, as he believed he could cover the shortfall in living expenses by withdrawing from my account. Suppressing a heavy sigh, I explained that the money was from gifts and savings from when I was single, not joint property. Tyler then revealed that he had spent almost all of his last month's salary and bonus on an overseas trip. He confessed that he had planned to withdraw from my account to cover the shortfall in living expenses. I firmly declined his request and advised him to ask for an advance on his paycheck. As a parting note, I informed Tyler that he should assume there's hardly any inheritance from his parents. They were living on their pensions, barely making ends meet, especially with the cost of his father's care. I reminded him to clear out their rented apartment soon to avoid paying rent every month. My mother-in-law, left behind, had been struggling with the expenses of the rented apartment and the cost of caring for my father-in-law. I was flabbergasted by Tyler's words. Up until then, I had been a stay-at-home wife, always deferring to whatever Tyler said. I had no regular income of my own, and part of me lacked the confidence to move out and support myself. However, witnessing Tyler prioritize a trip with his mistress over his critically ill parents changed something within me. I no longer wanted to be with him. Fine, I'll leave right now. Goodbye, I declared, packing a minimum amount of stuff and walking away from the house. A week later, I found myself staying at a budget motel, distancing myself from the life I had known. Tyler called my cell after a week, shocked by my decision. I gave him the final blow, declaring cheerfully, "I have no responsibilities to help you out. You are on your own." Tyler's voice was full of disbelief and desperation. "Why are you being so heartless? You've already lost your real parents. How can you be so heartless? Are you some kind of monster?" Tyler cried out, venting his frustrations at me. Despite having kicked me out with no income, he seemed to have forgotten that I had no sympathy for him. "It's all Tyler's fault," I replied. "You cheated. Don't expect me to help you out after what you have done." Hearing the word cheated, Tyler flinched. He pleaded with me to help him out, but I refused. Tyler and I eventually got divorced. At first, Tyler was reluctant, mainly because of financial issues, but in the end, he was persuaded by the lawyer I hired. Tyler, who always acted arrogant in front of me and my in-laws, turned out to be submissive in front of others. Our properties were split equally thanks to my lawyer. Tyler, having exhausted his savings on a trip abroad with Baker, struggled financially. Despite his difficulties, he reached out through my lawyer, asking for help and expressing regret for breaking up with Baker. However, I had moved on. I took a part-time job at a convenience store, and surprisingly, I found it fun. I even enjoyed the variety of tasks, including ordering products, frying snacks, and using my housekeeping skills for cleaning. The manager mentioned that if I worked hard, I could become a permanent employee. In my 50s, I realized that being divorced didn't mean my future was bleak. Discovering new things and having a ball at this age, I wanted to keep looking forward and moving on with my life.